Doing that blue magic, bro. I know niggas on that I stand by it, I guarantee it. Blue magic. That's what you want, bro.
Cardiologist Dr. Scott Davis, thanks for being here with us this morning. So push-up, explain this for us. How does this work?
Drop give me 20, right? So, interesting study. So the smart people at Harvard did a study. They looked at a group of firefighters in the state of Indiana. And so they had 1,100 men, okay, that they studied over a 10-year period. And the average age was about 40 years old, so it wasn't the 25-year-old caliber firefighter guys. I mean, it had a good, broad, selection of men. And they followed them over like I said, a 10-year period. And they found that the ability to do push-ups had a direct correlation in their cardiovascular risk. In that, if you're able to do over 40 push-ups.
Blue magic, bro. When you step in and you sell this and you telling people that this is CMOS gel, DRSEBI approved, you fucking up the brand. What are you talking about? It's copyright infringement. This is the Chondrus crispus, the only one in North America. When you present people this is copyright infringement. This is hair grease. God, the words you use, I don't like the words you use. They're disrespectful. Like the words you use after they even comprehend with, like it's disrespectful. I just call it red sea moss. I want that red sea moss. Y'all want red sea moss? Come get y'all some red sea moss. Listen, I don't give a fuck. You call it blue dog. Okay? As long as you don't call it blue magic.
Doing that blue magic, bro. I know niggas on that I stand by it, I guarantee it. Blue magic. That's what you want, bro.
For a long time, African-centered scholars and academics have pressurized Egyptian antiquities to allow for the testing of skin pigmentation. This can be done via the measurement of the concentration of melanin to ascertain the exact skin tone of mummified individuals. Understandably, Afrocentric anthropologists have always been confident in the knowledge that ancient Egyptians will cluster among the same racial stock as modern Africans. Esteemed historian and physicist Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop developed a simple melanin dosage test that would be able to return the exact living complexion from any mummy based on a minuscule sample of the epidermis. What's important to note here is that melanin concentration is responsible for skin pigmentation. The more melanocytes present in skin, the darker an individual will be. Diop himself stated, although the epidermis is the main site of the melanin, the melanocytes penetrating the derm at the boundary between it and the epidermis, even where the latter has mostly been destroyed by the embalming materials, show a melanin level which is non-existent in the white-skinned races. In the case of the mummies sampled by Diop, in spite of some significant melanin degradation, they still possessed a concentration of melanocytes well within the dark-skinned ranges, normal for black Africans, but considerably beyond the accessible range for Eurasian peoples. Regarding the origin of his samples, Diop continues, the samples I myself analyzed were taken in the physical anthropology laboratory of the Musée de l'Homme in Paris off the mummies from the Marietta excavations in Egypt. For 2 years past, I have been vainly begging the curator of the Cairo Museum for similar samples to analyze. No more than a few square millimeters of skin would be required to mount a specimen. Naturally, his attempts to advance this test have faced staunch resistance from the gatekeepers of Egyptology, who only benefit from the lack of transparency in a shameless attempt to perpetuate the myth of racial ambiguity. This allows them to make estimations and promote reconstructions that are illogically and politically based on the current ethnically divergent population of Egypt, as opposed to their actual complexion based on a consistent and measurable variable that is easily acquired. However, more recently, during an excavation headed by the German Institute for Archaeology in Cairo in the year 2000, researchers sought to carry out anthropological and paleopathological analysis of the human remains from 3 tombs of the nobles of the necropolis of Thebes West. An additional study was conducted by Makota and Vermeeren, published in 2005. The study sought to test the quality of methods of rehydration for mummified tissue. In the study, samples were taken from a pool of 273 mummies dated from the New Kingdom. Samples were taken from each organ of each of the mummies. During analysis of the skin samples, biologists noted that skin sections showed particularly good tissue preservation. Although much of the epidermis had already separated from the dermis, the remaining epidermis often was preserved well. The basal epithelial cells were packed with melanin as expected for specimens of Negroid origin. In essence, the epidermis was consistent with black or Negroid African groups based on the density of the melanin. This was the only conclusive assumption made alluding to ethnicity during the study, since its purpose was to compare methods of rehydration. This objective conclusion gives a silent nod to the tireless efforts of Diop and his protégés, who always knew that given the opportunity to test, the ancient Egyptians would be proven to be amongst the same ethnic stock as their African brethren. Thank you for joining me on The King's Monologue.
Purple phase not only regrows beta cells, But a part of the mechanism it uses to regrow beta cells is melanogenesis. Yes, in the world where your melanin, your pigment system has been attacked, you now have an equalizer. Purple phase, AmericanHealer.website. What are you waiting for? Go to AmericanHealer.website now and get you some.
Go to Amazon now. Grab these, throw these in your cart, grab everything. In fact, just grab everything that has my name on it from Amazon. Much appreciated. We really need the help. Thank you. And don't forget to send in your cash apps.
My name is Minister EnQi. I am the naturopathic doctor and the spokesman for the Melanin vs. Diabetes Ministry. Every time you go to the supermarket without the electrician grocery shopping list, it's like putting a loaded gun to your head. Stop playing Russian roulette with your life. Help us make America great again. Learn how to save time. Learn how to save money with the electrician grocery shopping list on Amazon now. Go to Amazon now. The life you save may be your own. All of these basics about melanin concentrating hormone, melanin stimulating hormone, etc. All of those things you can find in the foundational books early on. Melanin vs. Diabetes Book 1, Melanin vs. Diabetes Book 2, Book 3, and Book 4. Right? In fact, the other night we were speaking from Book 4, right? Where we were discussing the carbon and Dr. SEBI's legacy and some of that information. I guess some of that conversation spills over into this conversation because one of the main things we were talking about was melanin. And so this is almost like, I guess you could say, a follow-up to that conversation. And maybe that conversation contributed to people asking me to do this video about the aura, right? Because of, what we I ain't gonna say what we know, but what we think we know, right? Regarding the aura and melanin, etc. You know what I'm saying? Which is not all untrue. It's just now we know, thanks to newer technology, that there's a thing, opsins, the same pigments that are in our eyes, those pigments are in our skin. And the darker we are, the more of those pigments we have in our skin, right? So that means that changes some of the things that opens doors to change some of the things that we traditionally may have known, like the idea of an aura, or even some of the ideas like black don't crack, right? Black don't crack. Right? Some of those ideas now we can add science to, right? Because now we know, okay, the darker the skin, we already knew you have more active melanin, but we didn't know that there were other pigments as well, and that all of these pigments has such a large impact on heart disease, right? On diabetes, on high blood pressure, on cancer, on, reproductive health, men being able to make babies, women being able to make babies, women being able to feed babies, right? People think this is a joke. People think this is a joke, right? I just seen a clip of somebody exposing Dr. EnQi, literally saying, I somehow made up the idea that women are having trouble producing breast milk. Somehow I'm making up the idea that we're having a problem with our reproduction, right? Because women's vaginas are not working, right? And men's penises are not working. Somebody literally did a Dr. EnQi expose video. And shout out to them for doing that. You know, appreciate that. But this is literally why I exist. I have to constantly correct these ideas that are non-scientific, that float around happenstancely, like in the barbershop conversation or hair salon conversation. Now, a lot of YouTube platforms are the place where barbershop and hair salon conversation happen at. And the ideas that circulate in these mediums become people's lifestyles. They really believe these things, right? And the problem has happened, you know, the problem can go, unaddressed. The problem can go unaddressed right up until the point where they're faced with it as a issue for themselves, right? So we just try to put out, you know, as close to the hardline science as possible, and give people the research points so they can go back and find the information on their own. When you get the books, right, to take your study to another level, you'll find our research, right? But then you'll also find dictionary, encyclopedia, you know, reference material. And then larger than the reference material and our firsthand research, you'll find scientific articles from journals, etc., that validate the information that we're putting forward, so that all those things are in one space, right? So that all those things are in one space, right? So let's do this. Let's now go I'm trying to find, so that way we can kind of so we can kind of walk this thing up from the beginning. I think it's important. All right, so here's Inflammaging. So that way, anybody that's not on the same page with us, maybe they didn't see the previous videos, maybe they don't have the books yet, right? They can get on the same page with us. All right, so this is sciencedirect.com. First website, nothing deep in the search. I just typed in Inflammaging. Like I said, this word still comes up as a made up word a lot of places, or a misspelling, right? Because it's a very new word, a new concept, right? But it is in scientific journals all over the place, right? Inflammaging is the accumulated effect of a decline in immune function to clear viruses and bacteria, senescent cells to secrete pro-inflammatory cytokines, and ROS, which is reactive oxygen species, to neighboring cells, creating a toxic environment or the occurrence of a defective autophagy response. All right. Inflammaging, chronic inflammation in aging. Inflammation defined as an age-related increase in the levels of pro-inflammatory markers in blood and tissues. Right? I'm not clicking on anything. I'm just going through what's here on the surface level research right here, right? Inflammaging is the long-term result of chronic physiological stimulation of the innate immune system, which can become damaging during ... Scientists are honing in on the role of inflammation in the aging process and are gaining new insight into how exercise may be an effective ... Moreover, aging is often accompanied by a phenomenon called inflammaging, which refers to a chronic low-grade inflammatory state. And here's the wiki. Let's see what wiki got going on. Inflammaging, also known as inflammaging, is a chronic, sterile, low-grade inflammation that develops with advanced age in the absence of overt infection and may contribute to clinical manifestations of other age-related pathologies. Inflammation is thought to be caused by a loss of control over systemic inflammation, resulting in chronic overstimulation of the innate immune system. Inflammation is a significant risk factor in mortality and morbidity in aged individuals. Right? Let's tap over here real quick and get a quick refresher on the innate immune system. One of the two main immunity strategies in vertebrates, the innate immune system is an alternate defense strategy and is the dominant immune system response found in plants, fungi, prokaryotes, and invertebrates. The major function of the innate immune system is to recruit immune cells to infection sites, activate the complement cascade to identify bacteria, identify and remove foreign substances and tissues, activate the adaptive immune system, act as a physical and chemical barrier to infectious agents via physical measures such as skin and mucus. Okay, so this is the problem where I have with Dr. SEBI. Right? This is the problem where I have with Dr. SEBI, is that Dr. SEBI was more of a salesman than a teacher. In fact, my personal opinion is that he saw teaching too much as threatening his sales ability, right? Because if he gave away too much, then too many people would be kind of the situation I'm in right now, where, you know, I take people under the wing, I teach them, and then, you know, they become my competition and start to, you know.
Greatest person that I could give my flowers to while they're still alive is Dr. EnQi.
If we're trying to change the world, if we're trying to uplift the masses, that's the risk that we take, is that people will, you know, cheat. They'll do, you know, they won't support you in your efforts, or they'll be even worse. They'll try to steal your IP and pass it off as their own, you know.
Flesh, showing you that you were not created to eat flesh. Same thing when it comes to water. See, you're supposed to eat water. You're supposed to chew water.
What can you do about that? You know, the only other option is to not educate the people, right? And so our goal in educating the people and providing people that advantage, providing people that advantage outweighs any of the particular shortcomings that, you know, that may result from too much teaching, right? But the complete immune system is not the mucous membrane, right? And many people that listen to Dr. SEBI, they don't even know what he was referring to, because at the same time as he was teaching biochemistry, when he was talking about acid and alkaline, that's biochemistry. But to teach biochemistry and then at the same time tell people not to read books That's disingenuous, because that's where you're getting the acid and alkaline from. You studying and reading books, right? But if you teach it and then you tell people to stay away from books, a lot of the people will be ignorant to the source material. And then after you're gone, they have no way to continue their studies.
Period. You just got to have the nutrients. So are you going to pay $1,000 to have this nutrient profile circulating in your blood? Or you going to pay $65 and you get all these herbs and the vegan vitamin D3, the harmine for your pancreas, the seaweeds from the cold water, and your mama time.
Right? That's number one. Number two, you'll have people arguing over the context of some of the statements, like what did he mean by mucus? Because in the body, you have mucus, which is the euphemistic term for sputum, right? Sputum is that phlegm that you cough up with a lot of white blood cells and all of that kind of stuff. That's not exactly mucus, right? There's a difference between sputum and mucus. That what you cough up, that's sputum. That's not mucus. Even though we call it mucus, it's not mucus, it's sputum, right? Mucus is a gel-like fluid that's secreted from the inside of your skin. The inside of your skin is called the mucous membrane. So you have the mucous membrane and then you have mucus.
Now, for us to eat, you have to have in your big skull the understanding of biochemistry.
Right? Mucous membrane, mucus. Two totally different things. Mucous membrane, the inside of your skin. Mucus, something totally different. Now, the mucous membrane does secrete mucus, right? But the mucous membrane also secretes bicarbonates. And bicarbonates is a slightly to sometimes overtly alkaline substance that the mucous membrane secretes to buffer acids, right? So I'm just saying, while teaching people not to read books, but giving people concepts that you learn from books is disingenuous, because again, where are you supposed to go after that? You just got a whole bunch of people confused. That's debating to this very moment on the internet. Oh, Dr. SEBI was wrong because mucus is good for you. Wait a minute. No, mucus is bad for you because it's full of germs. These people having these debates don't even know. They're not even debating the same thing. Some people are saying mucus and they're referring to the mucous membrane. Some people are saying mucus and they're referring to sputum. Both parties are incorrect. Neither group is correct. So this is a problem with a lot of online debates. A lot of times with online debates, the audience is not intelligent or informed enough to understand what they're looking at. So the only thing that they can use to judge who's the winner in the debate is bravado, is showmanship, is charisma, is personality, is, just a lot of superficial things that may or may not have anything to do with, is this person correct or not? Is what they're saying factual information, right? So you got two sides of an argument that are wrong, but in a debate setting, you have to choose one side over the other, and you have to make the assumption that one of these sides to this argument is the correct side, when in many instances, like what I'm telling you now, both sides are incorrect. Most times when you hear this conversation, people arguing over SEBI with the mucus, neither side is, one side thinks they know what mucus is and they're talking about sputum, right? Then the other side thinks that they're talking about a whole organ system, right? So for clarity, right? For clarity, you see here, right? You see here for clarity, a part of the innate immune system, right, is your skin and mucus, right? Skin and mucus, very important, right? Skin and mucus, right? Very important. So you can't really have a good working or understanding of the immune system without understanding the parts that make up the immune system. And that's one of the big issues with melanocytes, right? Melanocytes are not only a part of your solar system or photonic system or electrical system, right? But they are a part of your immune system. Melanocytes are dendritic cells, which means they control the traffic of all the other cells surrounding them. So it's not just how melanin, right, which is the pigment, functions in terms of light, electricity, and free radicals, etc. You have the cells that make melanin, melanocytes. Those are dendritic cells that play a big role in your immune system. This is why we have this. Hold on, let me pull this up for a second. This is why we have, and I don't think people fully understand this, but this is why we have the algorithm, right? The algorithm. The reason why we have the algorithm My name is Minister EnQi. I am the naturopathic doctor and the spokesman for the Melanin vs. Diabetes Ministry. Every time you go to the supermarket without the electrician grocery shopping list, it's like putting a loaded gun to your head. Stop playing Russian roulette with your life. Help us make America great again.
Oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. Good, good thing I have my grocery shopping list. Don't leave home without it.
Okay, hold on.
This is the algorithm. Times table.
To earn respect.
Memorize your times table.
To earn respect.
Prescription. Dr. EnQi.
We breathe in life and light in patterns of 12. The alveoli open and close 12 times a minute. 12 times an hour, the Botzinger complex creates a sigh. The Botzinger complex is also the actual human beatbox. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. The total work week, or 5 days, equals 120 hours. Your 12 pints of red blood cells live 120 days. Impulses travel neurons at 120 meters a second. There is 120,000 miles of lymph vessels. Blood sugar levels top at 120, the rough equivalent of a 6A1C. Electrons per atom also top at 120. Red blood cells spin, creating a vortex through the 12 gates of the heart into the Y septum. Make note that the heart is 12 centimeters or 12 royal fingers in length itself, pumping 12 pints of blood. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. Spend time paying attention, balancing your interests to earn respect. So you'll never have. The 12 pints of red blood cells then make the 60,000 mile journey every 60 seconds, only possible by the structuring of water. Eerily similar to the 60-mile high electric field around Earth when charged. The 60 mitochondria DNA codons powering the little FO wall clocks. F equals 6. F0 is another 60. Setting the frequency, the brain, max speed of awareness to information, processing speed is 60 bits per second. That 60 is divine mathematics from the almanac. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. Spend time paying attention, balancing your interests to earn respect, so you'll never have to save face. Cells have their own carbon-12 cycle. Much like the algae of the planet recycle carbon into pigments, we recycle carbon-12 to make nucleotides. This is called the tricarboxylic acid cycle. A major portion of the tricarboxylic acid cycle is B12, the major purpose of which is to feed the mitochondria so they can recycle our ATP. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. The mitochondria have an assembly line called the electron transport chain. These mitochondria cannot function without melanocytes, melanosomes, and of course melanin. This assembly line recycles phosphorus so our cells can produce light to earn respect. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. The electron transport chain has 5 sections or 5 cytochromes: cyto, cell, chrome, color, or pigment. Cytochrome is the cellular pigments. The 5th is the ATPase pump or turbine. The base of this unit or FO motor, the counterclockwise clepsydra, has 9 to 12 components that cycle protons to power the pump. Each ATP must be utilized with magnesium. Magnesium is atom number 12 on the periodic table. The 12-unit FO water clock creates the 12 kBT energy that must bind to the 12th atom on the periodic table. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. 7.3 kcals per mole divided by 0.60 equals 12. The ATP has an average value of 12 kBT in available energy. A mole, based on the historical definition of the mole, as the amount of substance that corresponds to the number of atoms in 12 grams of carbon-12. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. The EnQi cycle sits at the center of motion in the cytoplasm. Structuring water molecules creates pools of free electrons, coherent domains.
Melanin harnesses these free electrons and feeds them to NAD. NAD in turn feeds the cell. That is the EnQi cycle. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. Spend time paying attention, balancing your interests to earn respect, so you'll never have to save face.
158. Y'all with me?
Spend time paying attention, balancing your interests. Spend time paying attention, balancing your interests to earn respect.
Paying attention. Balance.
ATP is produced by breaking down glucose or chains of carbon 12. We then cycle the carbon 12 back to the environment for the algae and plants. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. 36 to 38 ATP are produced from each glucose molecule. Without mitochondria, our cells can only squeeze 2 ATP per glucose molecule. Each glucose molecule is a chain of carbon 12. A sodium-potassium pump uses 1 ATP during each cycle. 12 times per second, these pumps go through a cycle, exporting 3 sodium ions and importing 2 potassium ions. As above, so below. The cell membrane and the mitochondria membrane. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic. Creating that 12-part motif is the mysterious magic of the energy system. Even each unit of insulin metabolizes 12 grams of carbohydrates, reducing the blood sugar level by 45 milligrams per deciliter. 1 unit of insulin metabolizes 12 grams
of carbs. 1 unit of insulin metabolizes 12 grams of carbs.
Of carbs. 1 unit of insulin, 12 grams of carbs, into the tricarbon cycle to produce ATP units of 12 kBT in energy each. This is the sublime mathematics of diabetic arithmetic.
All right, so that video is a little longer. Right, that video is a little longer. You can you could continue watching that. It's available. Remember, all of the videos that you don't see on the YouTube page are on the Patreon. Right, they are on the Patreon. That video is a video by itself. That is definitely a video by itself, family. Hold on, let me find that for you. All you got to do actually is just go to my YouTube page. Here, let's do that one time together. You know, they be hiding my stuff on YouTube though, so you got to know. And then plus, like I said, some things won't be on the YouTube page. You got to find them on the Patreon. So YouTube, let's go American Healer. Right? And then we go American Healer. We click the YouTube page. And then you just type in algorithm. And it should pop up. Yep. So that's the video right there. 19 minutes. That's the video right there, 19 minutes. And to take it a step further, that video comes from 2 books. That video comes from 2 books, which are this book, The Sublime Mathematics of Diabetic Arithmetic, right? The algorithm book. And then, oh my, what happened? Hold up. There we go. There we go. All right, so and then it comes from this book. Right? So that's actually a set of questions and answers. So if you go into the algorithm book, if you go into the algorithm book, you got to go to page 296, right? So if you go in the algorithm book, that's page 296 for the answers. And if you go into EnQi is the Soul of Osiris book, it is page, because those are the answers, but then you have the book of questions, right? And so the questions stem from this book. On page 28, right? So the questions and answers you can find in these two books, with a lot of the surrounding information that you're going to need to make that all make sense. But I did that video to just have, a way to make learning the information from the books a little bit more easy, but you don't want to negate the books.
And that name is Neil, man. I knew this day would come, brother. Once you had sent me that 36-page, well-written treatise, I knew the drugs had worn off. I had to be as critical as possible so that maybe you would leave all this alone. See, we could leave all of that in the past, man. All I want to know is, does 1 times 1 equal 2, man? You see, you just couldn't leave well enough alone, could you, Terrence? You know you can't just go around rewriting mathematics, right? It's not for us to do, Terrence. I have to get rid of you once and for all. You ain't gonna kill me, man. Oh, I am going to. Because there's only room for one black genius at a time, Terrence. And that black genius is gonna be...